joined, ladies and gentlemen, by a bubby.
You already had a bubby there with you.
Uh, Hi, Ashlee.
Hi, Nick. How are you?
I am super duper fantastic.
Oh, yeah.
Ashlee is the former host of the Rabbit Ears TV podcast, which may or may not return someday. It
It's
will
on an
return.
indefinite hiatus.
Indefinite, indefinite hiatus. Getting the stream put back together. Thank you very much, everybody, for sticking with us there through the break, if you did. But she loves her some television. And just for a moment, we got to talk, because I got to meet Ashlee last weekend at Caleb's wedding.
It was magical.
It
I
was
literally
magical.
knocked over like 6 people to get to you to give you a hug.
She really did. Like, she walks into the cabinet, she's like, "Get out of the way."
I think I accidentally elbowed your wife in the boob.
Probably. It was absolutely amazing. We had an absolute blast at Caleb's wedding, and it was absolute thrill to meet you finally.
I
Because
know,
you're my
but
favorite
we've known each
person
other forever.
ever.
We just
Right?
finally got to give real life hugs.
It was
a hug
absolutely
fest.
amazing. But we are here. We're going to talk about Married with Children. We're going to talk about some television today. If my headphones cut out one more time, I'm going to throw them across the room. I am so annoyed by my
You've
headphones
had
right
so
now.
many technical difficulties. That's so frustrating because you guys are doing such a good thing. Like, you would think that, like, Lady Luck would be on your side for a change.
You'd think so,
But no.
wouldn't you?
It's very
Yeah.
Al Bundy, actually,
That was
that everything's going wrong for you.
ridiculous. What is... I can't... Hang on a second.
You
Hang
can't
on.
hear me? That was a perfect reference. Throw him.
I can hear you, Bubby.
Thank you, Bubby.
Dan's shunned in executive producer land. Quiet, Dan. I'm sorry. I have to, because I can't hear anything. All right. Pause for station identification. Dan, sing us a song.
Love and marriage, go together like I don't know the words.
Horse
and
and carriage.
This
I tell ya, brother, you can't have one without the other. Love and marriage.
Okay. I am back, and I can hear.
Huzzah. That's better than I can do. I can never hear.
Oh, my God. So, yes, we are going to talk about Married with Children, Fox sitcom from the early days of Fox, before Disney.
It's like their first ever big hit that they had because they were a really struggling network in the beginning, and this was like their fucking golden goose.
This was their golden goose. This was something I often talk about how I've never seen a bunch of movies, but I watched every single episode of this show when it aired back in the late 80s and through the 90s. Like, I adore this show. It's definitely weaker in some seasons than others, but I still absolutely adore this show. Yes, thank you, Dan.
So I wasn't allowed to watch this show when it first aired. So when they added it to Hulu, what was that, like 5-ish months ago, was the first time because I'd seen like sporadic episodes.
Yep.
But that was my first time actually getting into the show. So unfortunately, I had to, there's things that don't hold up well and can be super offensive if you are not able to take yourself out of a mindset to not be offended by things.
Yeah.
Which fortunately I can. However, I watched some No Ma'am episodes today for the first time post the Alabama thing, and I was having a really hard time with it.
Yeah.
It was a little bit of a pill to swallow. But I mean, everybody on this show is equally terrible, so it's not really demonizing any one specific gender group or anything like that. Yeah, this is in the like ilk of Seinfeld and Arrested Development, where it's all these characters that never learn a lesson, are always terrible people, like never grow, like there's no learning moment. It's just, boy, these people are garbage.
Absolutely. And that's one of the things I think that's just so wonderful about it, is just these characters are who they are, and they don't apologize for it, and you don't have to forgive them for it. And when you watch, especially a lot of the stuff that the creators, like the interviews that they did, Michael Moy and Ron Levitt, when you watch a lot of the stuff that they talked about that's how they intended it. You know, they didn't want you necessarily. I mean, well, they kind of wanted you to sympathize with them a little bit.
It's not a family-friendly show. This is not one that you sit down with the kids to watch.
Exactly. But
this is like a Psycho Dad for regular people.
Yeah. The reason for making the show back originally was it was the anti-Cosby Show, because all the TV sitcoms in the early and mid 80s were all super duper family friendly. Everybody's happy, everybody loves each other, everybody learns a lesson, etc. kind of TV shows. And this is 100% the antithesis of all of that. And
yeah,
that's why I love it so much.
Well, and like that's what set Fox apart when they started doing this and kind of paved way for one of your favorite shows, The Simpsons.
Yep.
Like it's this kind of like people don't always want to see the epitome of what their life isn't. Like it's nice to feel better than somebody that's on TV for a change, because everybody else on TV you're watching like, man, my life fucking sucks. I'm a moron. Like I can't get ahead. I want to watch somebody that I am better than every time. Like I feel good about myself after watching Married with Children.
Yeah, and you can never watch this show and feel like you're not better off than Al fucking Bundy.
That poor son of a bitch. Like, oh. So let's get, I mean, we only have a small amount of time, but like I watched the first, I think 6 seasons. I talked to you, and like season 6, it kind of like fell apart. Like I was watching it to fall asleep, and I fell asleep a few times. So I fell asleep and Peggy and Marcy were pregnant, and I woke up and there was no mention of pregnancy, and everything kind of like went off the rails.
Yeah.
And you explained to me that there was actually like Katie Seagal had a miscarriage in real life. And for me, the show never recovered after that.
Yeah. And I think what they had to do, you know, and then there's later seasons in the show, like that one event, and it's such a tragic, terrible event, but that one event had kind of a ripple effect through the rest of the show, because there's another, I forget which season it is. It's one of like 9 or 10 or somewhere around there, where Peggy goes on like an extended trip to Wanker County for like the whole season because she was pregnant, and they didn't want to write it into the show again because of what happened with the first one. So like they will once in a while check in with her by phone or whatever, and she'd be in a scene or something. But yeah, they... In one of the only circumstances where it was all a dream is an acceptable plot point, because she had the miscarriage, they had written the pregnancy into the show. They had to find a way to write around it.
They had to find an out.
Yeah, you can't have a baby in the show if she has a miscarriage, because that's going to be horrible.
That's so insensitive.
Yeah. So I applaud what they did, but then the next season after that, because they gave us the baby plot line, they give us Seven, who is easily one of the worst characters in television history.
Here we go.
Jared Taylor checking in with another $25 donation. Thank you very, very much, Jared.
Thank you, Jared.
His family would watch this together, minus his mother. And he said he's been binging the show on Hulu. But yeah, Seven was...
that was the reason why I stopped watching it, was I got to some of the 7 episodes and I couldn't, like I was doing pretty good plugging through my binge, and then I couldn't even work myself up to start watching it again until like 5 days ago.
He's insufferably bad. He's Scrappy Doo levels of bad. Like that character was so terrible and ill-advised, and like the same thing happened to me. I was binging through, like I was just remembering how much I loved the show, how much I adored it, and then we hit that season with 7 and it immediately ground to a halt, and I was like, what else is on?
Yeah. I went back to watching a lot of Housewives. I'm watching the Housewives of Atlanta all the way through for a 3rd time, and I'm on season 9 because I just couldn't. Like that. Oh, it's so bad.
Seven is
the show killer, and they did get rid of him, and they kind of recovered a little bit, like incorporating the no ma'am and stuff like that back into some of the plot lines. But for me, it became super formulaic. Like, okay, they're going to be offered. Yeah, it's like, okay, they're going to find a way to get money. It's never going to work out, or there's going to be some battle with feminism. It's not going to work out for Al. Like it was just always like, it was a chore to get through, and it became just like plug and chug kind of plot lines for me. So then I went back. I was like, maybe I've just gotten tired of the plot lines, and maybe like it's just I've watched too much of it. So I went back and watched an episode from seasons 1, 2, 3, and 4 just today. Fucking loved it. It was great. Yeah. So it's nothing to do with like tired formulas. It's to do with they just got really lazy with their writing.
Yeah, it just became a parody of itself. Like, it became, what situation can we write these characters into that makes them even more hapless losers than they already are and whatnot. And I mean, you're not expecting these characters to grow whatsoever, but then they just become more cartoonish versions, and every single one of them this happened to as well.
Oh yeah.
Like, Marcy became even more of an over-the-top ridiculous feminist. Al became even more of an over-the-top loser and person that hated women. Peggy became, like, subsequently, like, if you go back to, like, the first season, there's scenes of her cooking really poorly, but there's scenes of her actually cooking, and as the show kind of moves on into later seasons, like, she becomes so, like, lazy, and, like, oh, hang on a minute. Oh, we have a donation from Bubby that says,
Yay!
Bubby. $25 donation. Thank you, executive producer Brennick. He says, Bubby.
My God, I'm so obsessed with him. He's the best.
I know. Me too. I get to
How
stare
could
at him
you
all
not
weekend. Are
be?
you jealous?
So jealous. You guys need to spoon. Don't touch my man.
Okay. But yeah. And then the same thing, like Bud. Bud is kind of a loser with women early on, and then he becomes just like so much more cartoonishly. And then it's the same thing with Kelly.
It's just harder to watch as he gets older. Like, it's more interesting when he's like
cringe.
that awkward teenager. Like, it's more relatable, and then it just becomes like he's a creeper hanging outside your window. Like,
yeah. And Kelly becomes just even dumber, if that's possible, as the show continues on.
And it's not funny dumb. It's just like
yeah, it's like there's no way this person,
obvious.
like, even though she's really attractive, there's no way this person would function in normal society being this dumb. Like,
no. So I have a question for you. Do you prefer Jefferson or Steve as Marcy's counterpart?
I refuse to choose.
Oh, really?
Because I love them both in their own way. Because I think what I loved most about Steve, though, was how you could always somehow turn him into a reluctant ally for Al. Like, he didn't like Al and Peggy. Like, he didn't like the Bundys whatsoever, but they always found a way to make him an unwilling ally. One of my favorite episodes, and I bet you love this episode too, but it's when they do the Labor Day episode and they're making the burgers and they spill the ashes out of the grill. And they have to go find ashes to put into the grill, and they find what Marcy's great aunt Toonie or whatever. And Steve fucking hated her. And then there's that amazing shot of him when they whisper into his ear that the ashes from the aunt are in the burger, and he just this giant grin across his face.
Steve for me was like the most relatable character on the show. Like, he was kind of the Greek chorus, because you could he was kind of a piece of shit, but not as much as everybody else.
Yeah.
Until he decides to leave to become a forest ranger out of nowhere.
Which I so love that David Garrison came back, because he never left the show on bad terms. He just wanted to go back to Broadway. He just wanted to go back to the stage because that's what he loves. And he came back like 4 or 5 times for guest spots, which were always hilarious. They were always amazing. I love he and Amanda Burse had just the most amazing chemistry and the most amazing back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
But I love Jefferson too, though, because I love that it's a little bit of a different dynamic, because now he's definitively an ally of Al, but I love that they made him so meek and like afraid of Marcy until they gave him that secret backstory where he was like a hitman or something that they never really tell you what's going on. But there's like the episode where they go to Washington, D.C. and like he's like nodding to Secret Service people and shit.
It's so over the top and ridiculous. I like Steve just a little bit more because there was more checks and balances between him and Marcy and like the other people. And Jefferson is just, I do love when she discovers that she's Marcy Darcy. That's one of the best like moments in the entire show for me.
Darcy? I like I said, I think I like, and I think it's just because I love Al so much as a character. Like, maybe just him having an ally finally was kind of nice to see, like somebody who like was just dumb enough to kind of buy into Al's shtick a little bit.
Yeah, and all of his little schemes and stuff.
Yeah. Like some of the episodes, especially like even like early Jefferson is just as classic. Like the one where they're trying to build the workbench is like, that's one of the more cartoonish episodes, but they're trying to build a workbench and they're like electrocuting themselves. One of them nails a board to their arm.
Oh, like, Jesus.
Oh my
That might have
God.
been one that I missed because like I said, I stopped like ground to a halt like beginning of season 7, which is only what, like a season and a half after Jefferson shows up, because I think it's Steve up to season 5.
Steve's up to season 4, and then Jefferson starts in season 5, I think.
Okay. Yeah.
Somewhere in season 5.
It's just, I don't know. Some of the stuff like was really highly entertaining, and like the one episode I was just watching earlier today was when Marcy and Peggy go to the strip club, and she loses her wedding ring down Zorro's pants.
That's hilarious.
It was a great episode. It
was such a touching episode too, because at the end of it, you know, and then when you get the moment,
the end of that episode,
you get the moment when the lights go off. But there's the really sweet moment when he gives her the ring back, and he's like, you know, no, he didn't say what was in it, and just gives her the ring back. And then, you know, it's such a touching, heartfelt moment. She runs into the bathroom and closes the door and screams. And then they go in, and then they turn the lights off, and he's like, so you lost your ring down Zorro's pants, huh?
And also, like, the sheer joy on Al's face when he hears, like, he's got this juicy bit of gossip on Marcy. He's like, oh, this is, like, yes, absolutely. He's, like, ready to fucking nail her to the cross.
Oh, my God.
And he just, the way he slides it to Steve, too. He's like, oh, yeah, your wife's a great person. By the way, I have her wedding ring. She lost it down the stripper's pants. So anyways, how about those bears?
Oh, my God.
It's fucking great. There's a lot that I really like about the show in its early seasons, and I don't know if I can go back to watch the later seasons.
I think I love, like...
Tell me why I should.
I could get into later season with Married Children because I love, like, the hapless characters, like the hapless losers that they start to surround Al with and the no ma'am stuff. Like Griff, his coworker at the shoe store. I love Griff. I think Griff's fucking hilarious. Bob Rooney, I adore. I love Bob Rooney, and I love that they always refer to him by Bob Rooney. They don't just call him Bob or anything. And Police Officer Dan, who's even in the series like way early, like he's really an early character that's just very, very recurring. And then he just starts showing up more and more in the later seasons. I don't know. Like you're right. It's formulaic and it's more of a parody of itself. But I don't know. I think some of the jokes land. I think even later season Married with Children, which isn't as good as early season, is still not the decline that you see a lot of, like, well, you mentioned it earlier, like Arrested Development, like the decline that Arrested Development had. The decline is only a small decline. Like, it's still funny. It's just not as funny. It's not as sharp as it was, I think.
Well, it also was on for 11 seasons, and some of those seasons are close to 30 episodes. Like, that's an asinine amount of content to put out.
Yeah, that's insane.
Like, how do you, like, with the amount of story plot that you're given, like, how do you even make up that many fucking episodes? It's crazy to me. So they did really well with what they were able to do.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's probably not going to be the easiest watch for you. If you do ever try to go back to it, like Bud gets, like Marcy's niece comes to stay with her like for a while, and Bud's dating her, and it's kind of funny sometimes because Bud actually has a girlfriend and isn't as much of a loser or anything, even though you kind of get the idea that, like, if he would ever just kind of stop being a perverted little dick, that he's like the one buddy that would make it because he's smart.
Well, yeah, because he's super smart, but he's also seriously, like, I don't want to say deformed, but
depraved.
Like really short.
Definitely depraved.
Really short. He's really... near. He's a tiny
Jared
little
Taylor,
nugget.
I actually agree with that 100%. He said, I'll take a parody of Married with Children, like it became in its later seasons, over most sitcoms. Like, it's still funnier, even though it wasn't what it was in the early seasons. It was still funnier than most of what was on
early
TV.
Seasons.
Yeah.
It was just really on the ball. I don't know if they changed writers or what, but it just... I
think like the original creator left at some point, and then it same thing that happens with all TV shows. Like, one showrunner will leave, another showrunner will come on, and they do things a little bit differently, and you know, whatever. Once you reach that certain point where you've reached a huge ratings spike, you have to start dealing with executives at the network who are like, no, this works, don't change it. You know, keep doing exactly what you're doing now. And then it just becomes an easy trap, I think, like you said, for writers to fall in, where it's the same things over and over. Like, oh, let's have another story where Al's a hapless loser that has this really stupid harebrained scheme and everything.
Mm-hmm. There was one episode that I started watching. I think it was season 8, the first episode, when I finally got back to it. And it was legitimately like, Peggy and the kids are on the couch talking trash about Al at the beginning of the episode. Al walks in, and they're like, oh, I bet she's going to tell a story about a fat woman that came into the shoe store. So he starts telling a story about a fat woman that came into the shoe store. But then like they get like tickets to this fucking like charity basketball game, and of course, like when they get there, there's an opportunity to make a free throw for a lot of money, and he has just switched seats with Peggy, so of course he's not going to get to make the shot. And then of course she misses it, and then of course as they're walking away before end credits, she throws it over her shoulder and it goes in, because that's exactly what the fuck happens. Like that one, like I watched that and I was like, oh my god, Dan, don't tell Nick that I hate this episode so much. Like I don't even know how I'm gonna deal with this right now. I'm so upset. Like I was triggered for a few minutes. But then I started like skipping ahead. Like I told you, I was gonna do like a random selection of like episodes in the later seasons. I didn't realize that No Ma'am didn't show up until season 8. I always associated that with the show for like the longest time.
I still have my No Ma'am shirt somewhere. I bought it way back in the 90s. It does not fit me even close anymore.
What does No Ma'am stand for?
National Organization of Men Against the Amazonian Masterhood.
Woo!
I know things.
That's impressive.
I like, and that's the kind of stuff, like, I think there's a point in kind of like, well, it's like we talked about, like season 6 was a disaster because of Katie's miscarriage and everything, and they had to pivot hard and go, okay, this was all a dream. And then they brought 7 in, which was a massive disaster. And I think the show kind of just hovered for a while in this weird place where it didn't really know what it was anymore, maybe. And then it just chose to become full-on parody. And I think once it finally chose, like, okay, we're just going to do this and be ridiculous, I think it's at least more entertaining than it. I will take seasons 8 through 11 hands down over season 7 any day, because 7 is fucking insufferable.
I got maybe through like 4 or 5, 7 episodes, and it was bad.
It's insufferable.
I think that, like, okay, so what other TV characters in TV history can you think of that would be on that level? It's hard.
Like I said, Scrappy Doo immediately comes to mind.
Yeah, Scrappy Doo was rough.
Thank you, Dan. Oh,
that
God,
was helpful.
Like, any of those late season editions, like just you know what, we'll talk about. We keep bringing it back to it, but Arrested Development season 4, like Maria Bamford's fucking character, or her boyfriend who has face blindness, or like just really stupid, like somebody in some writer's room somewhere was like, oh, this will be funny. No, it's not. Nope. It's like, well, she had a miscarriage, but what if we still give him a kid anyway? But no.
Just hard left away from that is not okay.
Yeah. There's really funny stuff like...
Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
No, you go ahead. No, you go
ahead, Bubby. I'm going to talk for the next 40 hours. Later.
I was going to say, if like you had to do marry, bang, kill for the characters, but that seems like a pretty easy one. Actually, I don't know who you would marry. But who would you marry, bang, kill?
I mean, kill is easy, right? We're all just going to kill Bud, right? Like, nobody's keeping fucking Bud Bundy around.
No.
You know what? No, I've got it. So kill Bud. I'm gonna fuck Peggy.
Really?
Yeah, I'm gonna fuck Peggy because Katie Sagal just does it for me.
I mean, she seems scary as the Peg character to get into bed with, like terrifying.
I always loved. There was an interview that they did when they all reunited at some point. They did like a reunion special some point years and years ago, and I always remember because Katie Sagal was like, Al had to be something good, if, where she constantly was like, I've got to do him like right now. Like, even though he only lasted, 4 seconds or whatever, like that 4 seconds must have been, I remember her talking about that, like that 4 seconds had to have been incredible.
Yeah,
whatever.
That was always one of the funny jokes to me. Like, it didn't make sense. Like, she was repulsed by him, but she was always trying to get him into bed.
Yeah, always. So I think I just have to pick Peggy. Yeah, Christina Applegate's hella attractive. Like, I will not pretend she's not, but...
Watch Dead to Me.
Go away. We will pick Peggy. I will pick Peggy. And then I think Mary, I'm going to marry Steve.
Yeah.
I'm totally fucking marrying Steve because I want to drive a Mercedes. Keep your husbands away from German cars. So you, okay, I got to know. Marry, bang, kill.
Fuck.
Bang, marry, kill.
I'm going to kill
Bundy.
7 because you fucked that up. Obviously, you kill 7. I'm going to bang Jefferson and marry Steve.
You're not going to bang Peggy's mom?
I don't think I have enough body surface to be able to do that. Like, there's not enough flour in the world to find that wet spot.
There's some jokes in the show that I don't think ever get tired. Like I always love Al and fat women. I just like all the jokes for me. They're always funny enough because they don't overdo them. I don't think. I did love that one episode where they kidnap him in the shoe store and like tie him up, and they all stomp in and they're all like 2, 4, 6, 8. Don't make fun of our weight. And then he gets up out of the chair. He's like 1, 2, 3, 4. You're gonna fall through the floor.
Al was fucking witty. He was really witty. I think he had like, what was the Christmas like rhyme that he like, 'twas the night before Christmas rhyme that he made up?
That's my favorite episode.
That was amazing.
I love the Christmas special.
It was so good. Was that the same one as It's a Bundyful Life with Sam Kinison?
Yeah, that's the same one because that was part 1.
So good.
With Sam Kinison, who is, I mean, literally his guardian angel.
So Sam Kinison is not my brand of humor, but he fits in perfectly with that show.
He does.
Like he's just exactly he would expect for his guardian angel.
I don't know if you know it or not, but Married with Children trivia, originally when they were first developing the show, they wanted Sam Kinison and Roseanne Barr for the leads.
Oh God, my eardrums.
Yeah, right?
Kill me.
Like I'm glad that that's not the direction they ended up going in, but that was who they originally wanted for Alan Peg was Sam Kinison and Roseanne.
Fuck that noise.
Yeah.
That would no.
Sam Kinison was great in that episode though as his guardian angel. Like,
but he would never he wouldn't be able to do for Al Bundy in the role that Ed O'Neill did. Ed O'Neill just fucking crushed it.
Yeah.
He's the other iconic character is Jay Pritchett and does an amazing job with that. A total 180 from Al Bundy.
Yep.
He's so good. He's got such great comedic timing.
Yep. He's
just on the ball and I love him.
I absolutely adore him. So Ashlee, we are just a few minutes left. So I know you're not doing a podcast anymore.
No.
And maybe
but you should listen to Netflix
someday.
and Swill and Epic Film Guys.
Nobody's ever heard of Netflix and Swill before. Hi, Bobby.
They're the off-brand Epic Film Guys.
Listen to TV Time with Ashlee. Make it the highest listened to episode of Netflix and Swill so she can come back forever.
There you go. But I don't know. I guess tell the audience what you are up to besides loving you some Bubby. We all know you love some Bubby.
God, so I mean, I guess I'll go ahead and get deep with it. So my dad was actually diagnosed with stage 4 brain cancer a little over 2 years ago, and then right after that happened, my mom, who's quadriplegic, passed away. So I moved in with my dad like a little over a year ago, and I'm just impressed with like how his dedication to beating this is really like he inspires me. He works out all the time. He's still like you would never know he was sick. He's just kicking ass and taking names. So I'm hanging out with my dad and enjoying all the time that I can with him because you never know what the fuck's going to pop up. So that's what I'm up to these days and kind of why I'm not podcasting because there's like 4 dogs in the house and I go to bed at 9 p.m. because I have to work at 5 a.m. So yeah. So no, but like I really appreciate all of the effort that everybody puts into this kind of thing and it's so selfless and you know everybody who's affected by cancer really appreciates it. So thank you guys.
Thank you so much not only for being here because we love you so much. Not Dan, just me. I'm saying that for me. But thank you also for bringing some light into Daniel's life. He was a dark boy before you came along.
Bubby sucks.
Quiet. It was literally one of the thrills I've had so far this year, getting to meet you at Kayla's wedding last weekend. We had so much fun. It was such a blast.
Oh, you're such a dick. Don't do this to me right now.
And we absolutely love you. Thank you so much for making some time to be here on the live stream for The Cure as well. You're a treasure and we adore you.
I love
Come
you
back
guys.
up here all the time so we can
all the time.
hang out. Not with
You're
Dan. Do we have to bring Dan?
I hate you so much. Yes, Dan, always. He's my person.
He's such a special person. I love him.
I love him, but differently.
But we love you. Thank you so much, Ashlee, for being here. And